Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for Castlevania Season 3. Just to say right off the top, there will be spoilers in this review since it will be going through the entire season. So just kind of right off the top for anyone who hasn't seen the season yet, it's great. If you've watched Season 1 and 2, you should watch Season 3. It's fantastic. I think it's interesting to watch this one because it seems like it's kind of the beginning of pretty much like a new arc for the series. It was kind of like you have that crazy big thing that happens, and especially with seasons 1 and 2, particularly 2, since season 1 was like, basically just a 2 hour movie. But you have seasons 1 and 2, it kind of ends with, the death of Dracula. So it's like, all right, how do things, kind of go forward? Where do we go with the characters kind of being off on their own now? Because we have characters, Trevor and Sifa, they end up kind of going off on their own and having an adventure together as a team. Then, of course, Alucard is just like, all right, well, I'm at my dad's castle, and we moved the castle atop the ruins of, like, the Belmont family. So you have, like, these two big names throughout supernatural history kind of combined together. And he's just like, well, here I am, kind of by myself. And then we have, two new characters come along. And then we have Isaac, and he's doing, like, his own insane, crazy journey. And things are really interesting with him too. Like, I don't know what to expect from that guy, but I'm looking forward to him in season 4. Like, he's such an interesting character, and his journey was probably the most interesting one. Like, everything else, they still had some twists that I wasn't expecting. Some stuff I did, but his journey was just like, I didn't see that one coming. He actually is confronted like, hey, what if instead of doing exactly what you were told by Dracula this whole time, even though he's gone now, what if instead you kind of just did some good? Instead of being like, oh, mankind is horrible and then they do terrible things and they push you out and they do this and do that, why not make humankind better? Why not be a leader yourself and show people how to be worthy of the existence that they have as human beings? And he had to confront that, and it was like, huh, that's a heck of a thing to do. And in the end, he hasn't done it yet. He still has to think about it. Because when he went into that village, it was kind of funny. It was like he goes through, he defeats this guy. He defeats like the super old magician. He overcomes the power as he's like confronted by this guy in his face. He hits him with like the little crown and stuff. And he breaks through and he kills the dude. And I was like, oh man, this will be interesting. And just all the people are just dying because they're falling from the sky and stuff. And then he tells the demons, kill everybody off. And I was like, oh, that's kind of messed up. I thought that was going to be like his first step. But instead, his first step was like, well, they already existed here. Wipe all of them out. And then maybe that's when the new thing can begin. It was an interesting way to do it because it was still him taking that concept of being like, maybe humans can be better. But he didn't let it be the people that were like completely overrun and just suffered in existence. It was like, kill all these people. I don't care about them. They're all dead. But, for the next set of humans that kind of just stumble across this town, maybe something could be here. Or, it could just be an empty monument. And I was like, it's messed up. And it was just kind of funny because I thought it was going to be him right there. Honestly, I thought he killed the guy and it would be like, all right, I'll be like their new leader. And of course, he'll have the demons he'll start off as kind of, power hungry in a sense. But then it would kind of gradually be like, all right, this is what we can do to be better as human beings. And he was the one that, kind of gave them second life by freeing them from the magician. And that's where I thought that was going. And then it was just like, all right, wipe everyone out, clear the town. And then when new people come in, maybe it'll be nice. And that was his way of doing it. And I was like, that's so effed up, but it also fits the show. And it was just so funny to me seeing that, where I thought it was going to be, him taking over and helping these people right from the start. And it was pretty much the opposite. He just was like, you guys have suffered and now you're dead. And that's all there is to it. But that was a great scene. Him getting to the island, and he's, technically that was an island. Just that whole segment, or wherever they were, it was a different, piece of land where he came from, meeting the captain. And, he runs into, I forgot what the title is that he has, but like the people that can like summon souls and stuff like that. He runs into this old woman. I assume she has to come into play in the next season, because that seems so weird to just be like, oh, there's this random woman who has the powers that he has, where she can bring souls back from hell and create monsters that she can control and do whatever she wants. But she's just like, I'm out here by myself because the dude in town, he kind of wiped everybody out and just left me here. And that was kind of the parallel, for how she was pretty much left behind and abandoned. And how Isaac, in a sense, feels that way a little bit, but at the same time, he was clearly, saved by Dracula. Like, Dracula cared to make sure he lived. And so I was like, oh, they have like a slight parallel. And he checked up on her when he got the rest of the mirror and stuff. And I was like, okay, feel like she has to come back into play. I don't know if she'll be a villain or if she'll end up helping him or whatever, but I was like, this seems too important to just randomly be like, we've only seen two people ever, one of which is Isaac, and then the other is Hector, and then this random old woman is like, I can do that too. And she had that moment where she stood up. I mean, obviously she's older, but she was like, trust me, I have the power. And it was like, things got crazy, and it's like, but I'm retired. That's basically what she did. It was like, nah, I'm strong, but I'm just gonna relax right here for a minute. So I feel like she'll come into play in season 4, so that should be pretty interesting. Hector, he just had the most effed up storyline, like just all the way through. I was like, this guy has it rough. He's they do the crazy march. They have like Camilla, or Camilla. I don't want to say Carmilla. Camilla comes in and she's pissed off. It's like, we've been marching forever. And it's like, we gave you horses. Well, you didn't give me undead horses of the night. So of course the horses died out soon. They lost people to humans because they were pissed off that demons were walking through. And so he of course makes it through, and he's been walking. He should have been dead. Like, no joke. Like, as soon as they showed that he was with them, I was like, he should be dead. They were like walking. He was walking barefoot in the snow. And it was like he's wearing like some generic clothing. It wasn't like he had like a big jacket and a bunch of layers. I was like, this dude is barefoot walking through the snow, and they probably haven't fed him that much. He'd be dead. They talked about they marched for weeks. Like, this guy would be toast right now. But he lives, and he suffers a little bit less. And that's where we get Lenore. And they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. And it was kind of obvious from the very beginning. It was like, she was the nice one. And it was exactly what you see from characters like that. Where it's like, he was smart enough to recognize that's exactly what was happening in the very beginning. And then things got a little bit nicer, and he stopped recognizing it because he's had so much shit happen to him, including the insane march we didn't see, that this dude is just like not ready to think. Like, he suffered so much, it's hard for him to continuously process, like, all right, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of that? Even his attempt to escape was stupid because he did it in the very beginning. I was like, why did he threaten her when she just made like the first move to be nice to him, and that was it? I was like, he hasn't eaten food, he's not dressed or anything like that, and he's like, I'm gonna get out of here today. And I was like, even if that was his plan, I was like, he could have waited a couple nights to be like, all right, let me muster up some strength, let me get some food. And then I was like, this is just dumb. And of course, she beat the F out of him, especially that backhand. She did like a teleporting, I think she did a full spin and then backhanded him, and it sent him into the wall. And I was like, and that's when you're nothing. When someone does a spinning backhand, you have no power. That you were defeated, and that is it. So of course, he's just their pet. And she's the one who's like being super nice to him. She gives him food, she gives him clothing and stuff like that. And they go out on walks in the night. And then of course they do it. And so I was like, here we go. And this, the dramatic scene towards the end of the season where it's like you got 2 crazy sex scenes and then our epic action sequence. And I was just like, here we go. Because I knew it wasn't going to be simple. I'm like, he's saying some stuff and it's like, he's promising to do this and promising to do that. And I was like, all right, it's simple enough to just like, he's having sex and it feels good. And he's just saying like, yes, I'm yours or whatever. And I was like, it's getting a little interesting and specific when it's like, you have to say like, I want to hear you say it. And I was like, he could promise whatever. That's not going to do anything. So I was kind of waiting for this thing because I'm like, the dude, he's being screwed in 2 different ways. And he doesn't realize the bad way is coming. And so, of course, she's like, I want to hear you say that you're mine forever, or whatever it was specifically that he ended up saying. And she slipped that little ring on him. And, of course, he says what he says, and the magic activates, and, like, these crazy thorns shoot through his body and, like, latch onto him, like, from the inside, I guess, magically. And I was like, and there it is. And now he's trapped forever. He still gets to do it, because she did compliment him, so I'm like, you gotta take what you can get, because he was being dumb the whole season, so I guess you gotta just be happy you're having sex, I guess. But it sucks for him, but that's where they are. And then she gave her sisters the ring, so now they're all in control of the demons that he's going to be resurrecting. And I was like, all right, well, that should be fun for next season, because now they have that. They mention throughout the season, like, they have a plan for how to get their continuous population, where it's like, well, how do we kind of get bodies, but not too many bodies to wipe out all the humans in the area? So I'm sure we'll see that actually come to fruition next season. But yeah, he got screwed. And I was like, I knew that was going to happen. They sent in like the classic pretty soft-spoken, woman. And I was like, it's the classic play. It was genius. It was absolutely genius. And of course he got captured. And I was like, yep, I saw that coming. But He did not. He did in the beginning. Then she backhanded him, and it just knocked the sense straight out of his head. And he was stuck ever since. And that's all there was to it. So it'll be really interesting to see how he develops as a character in the next season. Because I think the biggest thing about him is the fact that he didn't even know the actual plan. He had no idea Dracula was like kill all humans. And that's what I like about the difference between Isaac and Hector, because Isaac knew that the whole time. He knew that and was ready to die at some point, and that's why he just doesn't even comprehend, like, why would Dracula save me when the entire plan we were working towards, even myself as a human being, was to wipe out all humans. So he's really messed up because he was saved, and then Hector's messed up because it was like, I didn't know that's what we were doing. I thought we just killed a couple people, these people, not like all people. So he was really effed up, and it's just like, I want to see his development. I'm curious how his character is going to end up playing out by the time we get to either the end of the series or just the end of his life. I'm curious about what his journey is going to be altogether. So I'm looking forward to that. The other crazy sex scene that we had, of course, was with Alucard, who's sad and alone. His friends left, and he's just bored going through the woods. He's making puppets of his friends and stuff like that, and he's just sad and alone. And then I have to read the names off my thing because I didn't bother even to remotely remember these people, but Taka and Sumi, who I still think are brother and sister. I wasn't 100% certain. They're real comfortable being naked around each other, but I was like, I wasn't sure. I thought they were brother and sister because they look similar enough, so I believe they are. But they had a cool backstory, and they talk about Cho and how like she'd have like samurai come in and try to fight her and stuff, even though she knew she could win, and it was just like a weird show of force for her, and it made her feel good. So I was like, all right, this is cool. We're gonna get to see a new set of vampire hunters come in, and they're gonna expand to Japanese culture, and we get to see how different cultures fight monsters. Different fighting styles, different weapons, and I was like, this would be pretty cool. I'm not familiar with the Castlevania games, so I don't know, like, if anyone's ever introduced, I don't know if they're from the games or if they're just for the show. So for me, everybody's a brand new character, except for, like, the Belmonts and, obviously, Dracula and Alucard. Other than that, I don't know anybody. So I was like, this will be interesting. And then they get close to him, and then they're like, well, he's lying to us. He's not telling us everything. And then they try to, like, fake do him, and then they put the crazy wrapping around him that goes through the bed and stuff. And then he uses his sword, which I believe that is the first time we've seen him use it magically. And I totally forgot, because I knew he could do that, because I've seen tons of footage from tons of games. Because I don't think he's done that before in the actual series. So when he did it, I was super surprised. And then I was like, maybe I'm shocked because I don't remember seeing it in the actual show. So I forgot because I'm not so familiar with Castlevania. I'm like, obviously the sword's going to come in. It just wasn't even in my head that was a thing, but I had seen it before, and I was like, oh yeah. So he cuts their throats, and then he sets them up as like warnings and puts them on pikes, and I was like, that's crazy. That was just a crazy way for that to play out. And then he's just sad because he killed the two people that he had. And I was like, this is nuts. All they had to do was just talk to him, because he literally didn't hide secrets. It was just like, I'm kind of slowly building you guys up because you can't do anything. And it was weird. They just kind of lost it. And that was like the one thing that was weird. It was like, they just instantly stopped trusting him because they're like, he's not telling us literally everything. And it's like, well, he kind of doesn't have to. And also he's trying to take it slow. He even says like, we're learning at a slow pace because you're not ready for just to go straight to the top. You can't even do this yet. So I'm trying to teach you how to fight hand to hand, or, don't let a vampire get close. Stuff like that. And he was, building up, and they were just ready to go. And they were like, he's lying to us. And they got themselves killed. And I was like, that's an effed up way to go. And they're just dead there. And it was like, this sucks. And then he just has to stick him out his warnings. And now he's a little bit darker. He had like a new connection, and it betrayed him. And it's just like, I guess that's all there is to it. Then I'm alone. And I was like, this is weird. But I'm very excited for how he's going to play out in the next season. Now that things definitely shifted from where I thought they were going to go, where he starts to build like another team. So I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. He was mostly just sad and alone, and then he was kind of not alone, and then they lied, and then he killed him. So weird story for Alucard, but pretty cool. I definitely liked the scene where the sword came in, because I was like, I know he's not going to die, because that would be insane, but how? And that was a great scene. Then, of course, we have our natural team. We have our Belmont. We have our speaker. And they were great. I love them in this season, and I can't wait to see what they do in season 4, because probably my favorite line is, I think, Trevor's last line, and like when they talk, and it's Trevor and Sifa, and she's like, I forgot exactly what she said, but he pretty much was like, this happened, like, we saw the world through your eyes, and now you're seeing it through mine, because they go through this whole journey. They're having their great adventures, like, they were supposed to go back to her people, but eventually it was like, let's beat monsters, save towns, this is cool, we're having an adventure, and it was fun for them. And it's gonna be dark as F next season, because they go through all this stuff. They help Saint Germain. He was a funny character. All his stuff where he like knew all this stuff about the world and they didn't know, toilet paper and bathrooms being like on the ground level, stuff like that. I thought it was really funny. And so I like this character. They end up helping him out. He jumps through space and time. Great cliffhanger, even though it was such a tease where it was like it goes through the ending for it was like the penultimate episode, and it cuts to like Dracula and his wife, and they look at the camera. I was like, I have to watch the finale, but sadly he's not resurrected just yet. But Saint Germain goes through epic action scene. I think it's the best action scene they've had in the series so far. When Trevor takes out that second whip, like he was about to, he pulled like his special secret weapon and he just double whips this thing. He had a whip so hard or so sharp, it split concrete. And I was like, that doesn't even remotely make sense. But that was so good. And he's just like, it was insane. It was such an insane scene and I loved it. And then Sifa pulls out the electricity, which was cool. That was a nice bonus. So they go through, beat all these bad guys and stuff. And then we find out that after everything they've done, they lost a lot of the town because the symbols killed all the people in the houses. And then we find out the judge was just like killing the kids left and right, and he would collect their shoes because he didn't like kids running in the streets. And he would send them out to this apple tree, and they would fall into a pit. He would, leave the bones and collect their shoes like, oh, I killed this kid today. And it was just insane. It was like all the heroics that they did in helping this guy who was like the leader of this town. And he was just a, piece of shit human being. They banished the monsters back to hell. The demons and stuff are gone, but, there are always monsters on Earth. And it was just a crazy moment. And it's like, they had that adventure, and that was hers. And now they have, like, the shitty version of the real world where no matter how heroic the thing is or who you might think you're helping, it's probably just another bad person. And now they're in Trevor's world again. And I was like, I don't know how that's going to work, but it should be fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next season. Love this one. It was really interesting. This was definitely like the build up to the next arc. So I'm really looking forward to season 4. I know we're supposed to be getting this Devil May Cry series at some point. I can't wait for that. I don't know what timeline they're going to go for the new series, but man, Castlevania has been like the coolest thing ever. Like for me who don't, as someone who doesn't play the games, I just know because Castlevania is huge. I love this series. And I love Devil May Cry already because I love the story. So I can't wait to see what they end up doing with that show because the animation in this is insane. And then they're going to have that with, Dante, possibly Nero, depending on where they go in the timeline. Maybe Virgil will show up because you have to have Virgil because he's the sweetest character. So we'll see what happens with that. But Castlevania Season 3, I loved it. Can't wait for Season 4. It was just good. The animation's always fun, and they really saved it up for this season because they had like a lot of cool fights, but they were very simple. And then that fight in the basement was just insane across the board. Like I'm actually gonna rewatch it just because it was that good. So very excited for season 4, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about this one. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. What story arc, since this is really like building into what the series is going to become, because I feel like we're probably gonna get. I'd guess that we're probably going to get 2 more seasons, and then Dracula will probably come back at the end of that. So we're at 3. So probably at the end of 5, if they don't like end the series out, because a lot of shows do that. If they don't end it at 5, excuse me, at 5 seasons, I think season 6 will probably be like Dracula coming back and being resurrected officially. So that's my guess on it. But they might do that at the end of the next season too, if everything falls apart for like the sisters and stuff. But I feel like them having like 4 characters as leaders, I feel like that's a cool arc in itself. I kind of want to see that keep going. I don't want that to just instantly get killed off. Like they go through everything and then they're beat in 1 season. So I feel like that has to take 2 seasons. So I think we definitely got a couple more to go. But I'm really excited. Would love to know what arcs you guys are looking forward to the most and what you guys thought about this one in general. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.